It's lights out and away we go. It's race weekend, folks. It's race weekend finally after a long week.
Woohoo!
I'm pretty sure I didn't nail it as good as David Croft, but hey, I tried and I always wanted to, so whatever. Welcome back to a brand new episode with fan fiction. We are your hosts. I am Akash.
And I'm Sarang.
You can listen to us on your favorite streaming or any app that you use wherever podcasts are available. I just go crazy with it. News for you folks. We are now live with our website f1fanfiction.com. Come check us out, interact with us. We've got blog posts there, whatever we've missed talking about right now. We've got stuff coming out over there. So head over to the website again. That's f1fanfiction.com. Well, if you don't want to go to a streaming app for listening to our podcast, come there and we've got a player for you there. So it's a one-stop shop solution for you. So yeah, come on, write to us, and hope to see you there soon. This is episode number 4, first ever of its kind with race week in play. And what a race it was! Nail biter to the end. Well, diving into the weekend, what a race weekend it was, right, Sarang? Your thoughts on the weekend?
It was worthy of a season opener. That's all I can say. It was filled with excitement. It had just the right amount of drama in there. And even if the results look same as 2020, it still was a amazing race.
Yeah, nail biter to the end. Drama starting off from qualifying. Um, every lap sort of been that, hey, what's gonna happen, and not just at the top, but even exciting things happening in the midfield. So overall, an amazing race. Qualifying, right? It's been an interesting qualifying. For me, I think the two things that stood out was, why did Perez use softs when he had that one last chance to get onto the grid? He could have probably just made it into Q1. Um, and yeah, I would have loved to see at least one of the legends into Q3, but yeah, all three of them were out. Sarang, what's for you?
Yeah, qualification itself for this race was quite interesting. A couple things which stood out for me was George Russell again with a very strong
Yeah.
performance, getting into Q2, dragging that Williams over there. Great effort by him. And the other thing was Mazepin, or better known as Mazepin these days, caused some yellow flags, as well
Oh
as there
yeah.
was some issue with signs. So there were two yellow flags on the track, which caused Ocon and Vettel a lot of trouble. They both had to kind of they had bad lap times because of that, and Vettel really got the worst of it.
Hmm.
The interesting thing about the sport is that part things in the previous session can really affect you in the next session, and that's what exactly happened with
Yeah.
Vettel. The drama for today's race pretty much started even before the cars were on the track. Vettel was called to the stewards because he failed to abandon his hot lap. He did slow down for the yellow flags, but he was supposed to actually abandon the lap, and he didn't do that. So he was called to the stewards and he was given a 5 grid place penalty, which basically put him at right at the end of the grid
Yep.
today.
Yep. Yeah, he didn't have 5 places to give away, so
Yep. So yeah, pretty unfortunate for him. His race was gonna be bad right from there
yeah.
itself. Talking about bad races, for a moment there, Perez was having nightmares. He was while he was getting uh, to the grid during the formation lap. I
Hmm.
think he had some issues, and his car stalled right before, I think, the last turn or something like that.
Hmm.
And yeah, pretty much he had to try and get that car started again. He had to get into the pit lane. They had to do an extra formation lap this time, which basically subtracted one lap from the total time of the
Yeah.
race. It was a very weird thing.
Yeah, I wonder
And
if that extra formation lap cost was tap in, but hey, we'll come back to that towards the end of the episode, so stay tuned. Um I, yeah, I think the curse of the second race driver continued at Red Bull. I felt sad, but hey, I was so happy to see him. Even though you're starting from the pits, I was so happy to see him at least be in that race, and then what a race it was for him as well. But yeah, race start was amazing. I think Verstappen's been very smart in on that straight, because he just, if you saw
Hmm.
right, like he just went all the way to the right, breaking that race line, conventional race line that drivers have taken. And obviously people on the back don't want to break air, so they are following him to the right, but that first turn is a left hand into the right, so that was
Hmm.
quite smart move from Verstappen. And back of the grid, at least the top five, there was so much fighting going on into that first lap itself that um, which sort of continued and caused momentum for quite a lot of shufflings in the start of the race. Ferrari, very surprising, at least for me, had an amazing pace where Charles was able to eventually get hold of P3 at a point, which was, to my surprise, just
Hmm.
amazing. I mean, first of all, for everyone out there, I expected Ferrari to be back of the grid somewhere. I mean, coming off of 2020, I didn't expect them to be where they are, but it's just been so surprising to me. And Charles, what a start he's had. But then, not to just undermine other drivers, Lando Norris. I mean, that McLaren. Oh my God, that young kid's just been killing at the start. Um, yeah, I mean, my excitement's all over the place because Gasly was fighting for that P4 and P3 too at a point. What a start.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane. The start. It was not just at the front where battles were going on. It was all throughout the grid, and
Exactly.
that was
Exactly.
really interesting. People were overtaking each other. Vettel jumped from P19 to P14, and it was just craziness everywhere. Kimi Raikkonen jumped from P14 to P11. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think all veterans kind of were uh, trying to gain a couple positions. It
And to
seems.
me, that sort of felt like experience more than just the car, because the way Verstappen started, he sort of created that tight squeeze on the back, and it wasn't that easy to sort of get through cars. But then you could see these veterans sort of make their way, using experience to their advantage, right, irrespective of the type of car they had, which is amazing.
Mhm.
One event that I loved, at least what happened in the start, was Mazepin spinning, because after what he had done during qualifying, I in my head he was Grosjean too, and I was like, this dude's gonna end up doing something like Grosjean. I had my fingers crossed, and then he spun. So I was like, okay, we're not gonna see drama, at least in a sad way. Um, but anyways, he
Yeah.
spun, and then he eventually at least created a safety car. So I was like, the race has anyways just started, which is going to be exciting. You've created a safety car. uh yeah.
Yeah, it's safety cars. I love safety cars most of the times, but sometimes, especially at the start of the race,
Exactly.
yeah, it feels like it kind of neutralizes the drama,
Yeah.
and so yeah. But I'm glad Verstappen came out better
Hmm.
after the restart in the safety car. Basically, the good thing about safety cars is that whoever the leader of the races gets to choose when the race restarts, when the safety car goes in, and that's a very important skill for each driver
Yeah.
to maintain the pace and restart the race at the right time. And Verstappen was able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and the amazing thing he did again there was, right, like, safety car basically for folks is something that it makes everyone go slow on the track in layman terms, so that if there is any debris or anything on the track which can affect the cars and the safety of the race is taken care of. And this could go on for as long as possible, until the race directors feel that it's safe to continue. And when the place where it ends is when a new lap starts and the safety car's out of the track. And in this case, right, what happened was the race restarts after the checkered flag finish line. um, and the beauty that Max showed was he went as slow as possible on that straight right before that checkered flag line, so that he could keep everyone so tight. And as soon as he crossed that line, he knew he had to pick up pace, otherwise people could start overtaking. And he went again all the way to the right, breaking that race line, and it was so beautiful from him. But thoughts on race start from you after safety car, Sarah?
Yeah, one thing which I really noticed this time is that Honda was not joking when they
Oh
said that they
yeah,
have a new engine. That thing is a rocket
oh
ship.
yeah,
They are matching up Mercedes as close as they can, and yeah, I think this year would probably be a very strong year from Max and Red Bull, and that showed at the restart of the
hmm
safety car where he confidently had enough pace and he was able to keep that gap to Hamilton right after the restart. Hamilton was not in Verstappen's DRS range right after the safety car, and he wasn't there for quite a while.
right.
So, uh, definitely, they have really made big strides in the engine department there. The other interesting thing that happened right after the safety car was Mick Schumacher spinning.
uh,
That just kind of shows at what a terrible state Haas currently is
oh
at.
yeah,
That car is, I don't know what that car is, and they have pretty much, as we had talked about last time, that they have pretty much said that they are not going to make any developments this year. So I am expecting just these events occurring again and
hey,
again
Haas is the new
throughout this
Williams.
season. Yeah, that's right. You could say it that way. Definitely. Yeah, and eh, talking about crashes, Gasly had a moment of his
Oh,
own.
poor chap.
Uh, he kind of, I think, had he overbraked or something like that and just nudged into Ricardo and basically lost his front wing. I could see that the front wing and its entirety broke off from the nose and flew apart onto the side of the track, and that was a funny
Yeah,
moment.
I mean, that Honda engine bullet was also working for this B team. It wasn't just
Oh
Red Bull.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. AlphaTauri looked quite strong, and I'm guessing if Gasly didn't have this moment
hmm
in this race, I think he could have had a very good result this time.
For sure. What was he like P3 at, or fighting for P3 at some point during race start as well, right? Like it was just
Oh
too
yeah, I
crazy,
think Charles and Gasly were
right?
going at it. No, I think earlier Bottas and Charles were
Oh
going at
yeah,
it, and
exactly.
shortly after it was Gasly and
Right.
Charles. Talking about Charles and Bottas, I think Ferrari, after a very long time, have are in the position to fight Mercedes, and that's really great. I'm quite happy about that. That there are more teams who are now challenging Mercedes this year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the safety car, as you said, right, like is quite eventful. Usually in terms of pit stops, but yeah, the fights have just been amazing. I can't remember, but was there also a fight between Charles and Lando at some point?
Oh yeah, there were fights all over the place. I think Bottas finally was able to, gain some distance from Charles because at the end of the day, Charles was definitely overdriving his car trying to fight Bottas.
hmm
Mercedes still has that edge over
Yeah,
Ferrari,
true.
and I think at some point he was able to, just fly away from Charles. So Charles was basically, and Gasly was out of the pictures
Oh yeah,
because of
yeah.
his issues. So Lando got that advantage and he was able to catch up with Charles, and they were going at it corner after corner, side by side. This wheel to wheel action is, what gets me to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning to watch the race, and it was there. So yeah, I'm a happy person today. Yeah. So yeah, moving on. I think right after the restart, things started to settle down. Everybody was kind of getting into their grid spot, sorry, into their positions on the track, and that's when basically everybody. gets into the waiting game of who is the first team that pits, and basically determines the strategy, so that other people can counter it. And yeah, I think Alpine was the first with Alonso, where they uh, got him into the pit to change tires and forcing their opponents, to take some action about that.
Yeah, I mean, what was it that you said right before you started recording? What is it like? Alonso starts an undercut train, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because that's how it works. One person pits, and then everybody is panicking. Okay, this team has pitted now. We
Yeah.
have to respond somehow, and then everybody is choosing whether to pit now, later, undercut, overcut, and everything.
It's so interesting to see. If you're seeing a race live, you know that the commentators pause when there's a radio message, and as soon as the first person pits, it's all team radio starting to give it box, stay out, stay out. And yeah, the commentary is just gone for maybe 2 laps because teams are just on pace. But it was an interesting start to the undercut train, right? Like, undercut essentially is nothing but pitting earlier into the laps, so that you have that slight edge of fresher tires over folks that are already out on the track. So you have that momentum going in, gaining those extra positions, building off a delta with the folks that you've overtaken, and then when they pit, you get an extra edge with that lead that you've taken. Um, so Alonso started it, and soon to follow was Merck. We've seen Merck do this quite often. They do have a very well formulated and proven to win undercut strategy, and Hamilton was right on top of it, right?
Oh yeah, Merck is great at it, and not just that. That it's not only about the strategy that they make; it's also about they have two drivers who are very close to each other during
Yeah,
the race most of the times, because of which they can create these strategies, which they can execute perfectly because they have somebody on the track to hold the position. They don't have to give up the position just because they're deciding on an undercut.
right, right. So there are essentially three types of compounds in the race: a soft, a medium, and a hard type of tire. So yeah, the way I understand it is, softs may go shorter distance but give you better performance, and then as you move towards the hard compound, it gives you lesser performance but lasts you way longer. So it was interesting to see that the first undercut by Hamilton, they directly gave him the hard tire, and to my mind, I'm thinking he's probably gonna go towards to the end of the race, because he's done this in the past, albeit complaining towards the end of the race that, Bono, I don't have any tires, which also I was ready to hear. But he pitted with putting on the hard tires. I was hoping for Red Bull to also stop, but I loved the fact that they tried to overshine and disprove Hamilton's undercut by just staying out there longer, because Max was on the mediums, if I'm not wrong, or softs at least, and he had more, at least, performance to chew out of those cars, even though Hamilton was on new tires, and it was a perfect battle of strategies, right? Um,
Oh yeah.
it wasn't being compelled by what the other team's doing, but they were completely in the game. It was an amazing
Mhm.
rivalry at the top, not just Merck dominating unlike previous seasons, and a true battle of strategies happening there.
Oh yeah, and one thing which kind of gives me the confidence that this season would be a lot more interesting than a couple of seasons that we have had in the past couple of years is that earlier on Red Bull always had that deficit in
Right.
performance for which they had to compensate, and because of that, a lot of times they couldn't make these gambles and strategies. They had to kind of follow what Mercedes is doing because otherwise. If you don't have enough performance in your car, you cannot do those
Yeah.
gambles. And I think this year, since they do have that performance with them, they can actually venture out and try these new strategies out and try to beat Mercedes not just on the track but also on strategy. And I think that is going to make this season a lot more interesting.
Agree.
overall.
Agree. And speaking of that deficit, right? Like if in earlier seasons Red Bull had that deficit, to just give that nudge to the top fighting teams, I think the middle of the pack is doing exactly that right now with McLaren. To my surprise, again Ferrari, and Alpha Tauri as well. Right? They are in that range of the deficit right now to just keep that
Mhm.
push, uh, definitely within the Formula 1.5, but keep that push even to the top teams. And as we've seen, right, like Lando and Leclerc going all the way up to P4s and P3s.
Oh yeah, and it's quite evident this year. Like all the teams are so close together. I feel I so right up till last year, there was a very clear distinction between like the three tiers of teams that were there, where we would say that Mercedes and Red Bull
Yeah.
were in a tier of their own. These leading midfield teams, which is basically McLaren, the former Racing Point, which is now Aston Martin, and I suppose also Renault was. I mean, now it's called Alpine, but these three teams were in one pack and the rest in the other. So I think overall this year, I'm not able to determine honestly these distinctions, except for Haas and Williams, I would say. But otherwise, it's a really mixed up field, and that we could see in this race. Even look at Alpha Tauri. Like, unfortunately, Gasly didn't have a good race today, but
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Yuki had a pretty amazing race. He was a rookie. I mean, he is a rookie, and this was his first race, and yeah,
Yeah, I
he
mean,
he
and
did
even
pretty
though
well.
Gasly didn't finish, I mean, that was tough luck on his side. But if he would have stayed in the race, I wouldn't have been surprised to see him way up in the points. But while all this action was happening on the front, and we talk about midfield, I think the mid race section was completely for a viewer on whatever was happening, not on the front of the race. Right? It was like all the mid pack and
Oh
the
yeah,
back markers.
yeah. I think basically after Hamilton pitted and like after w- he was behind, and Verstappen was in the meanwhile, just cruising ahead and not gaining or not losing. And same thing, Hamilton itself was cruising. Everybody was just playing the waiting game. So things kind of started getting boring at the front, but but at the mid pack,
Yeah.
things were getting super interesting.
Yes.
I mean, Yuki again, like playing the strategy game, he stayed out longer. Everybody, when they started pitting, he stayed out on the field, and he got the P6 position because of that. And yeah, there was a lot going on. Especially, did you see the amazing fight between Alonso, Sainz, and Vettel while
Oh,
they were going at it, 100%,
yeah.
and it was just insane to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Alonso even called it out in his post race. You're exactly bang on to not have any words to describe that situation, because it was like the good old days for me, right? Alonso called it out in the post race, saying, "Yeah, we had a fun race. During the middle of the race, it was some good rivalry with old friends, and overall, it was a good race." So
old and
for
new
him,
friends.
also, I think the highlight of the race was battling his old mates on the track, and it was fun. It
Mhm.
lasted for a few laps. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, two of these three names had a terrible race, uh, but they gave us some real good
Yes,
action on the track, and yeah,
yes.
I'm very happy about that. It was good to see battles so close that I have missed this a lot in the past years.
Yeah, I mean, having seen such races over the years and whatever was happening in the last 2 years with the dominance and not a clear rivalry, this race was me feeling like Alonso is like, yes, it's the good old days and we are back to the competition we're longing to see.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So while all this was happening at the midfield between Alonso, Sainz, and Vettel, uh, the lads at Alfa Romeo were, just having a chill Sunday afternoon, and yeah, they were pretty much just cruising by. I didn't really even see them on the screen
Yeah,
throughout
live
the
and let
race.
live was their motto, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, they just missed the points. I think they came in 11th and
Yeah,
12th, I guess, just one behind each
yeah.
other. So that's great, actually. Alfa Romeo has probably made some significant progress, because
Hmm.
last year they could only dream of coming 11th and 12th.
Yeah,
So yeah, great job by Alfa Romeo. Uh, Meanwhile, a race leader decided to pit finally, because yeah, he probably was facing some tire degradation issues, and so he pitted. Everybody expected that he probably would change to hards and just drive that to the end of the race, and try to make it a one-stop race. But he went on to another mediums, which was kind of surprising, because that essentially guaranteed that he had to pit again, because basically FIA has a rule that for every race they have these mandatory tires.
yeah,
So what you talked about earlier, where we have three compounds, so the one compound is kept as a mandatory compound that you have to put on your car during the race, and for this race it was hards. And since Max hadn't put hard tires yet, by going onto the medium tires, he basically sealed the deal that he had to pit one more time onto hards. And that was a very big gamble,
yeah,
because even though the fact that Hamilton was on hards, there was a chance that he could just go to the end
yeah.
on those tires. So yeah, I mean, kudos to Red Bull for trying that out.
And you're absolutely right. Like we've seen Hamilton pull that off, right? Like to everyone's surprise, just be out, even to that fact that he's limped in with three tires, winning a race. So he's done this. But
Oh wow.
but it was interesting
Yeah.
to see that they again went ahead with that undercut strategy for Hamilton, lap 29, and that was the period when I think Merck decided to sort of have a Merc pit stop for both their drivers. It's
Mhm.
they think they're probably better off with a double stack, which I was happy to see they didn't do. But again, like lap 29, lap 30th or 31st, it was still back to back in terms of laps, and there was that effect of someone getting affected. And again, sadly, this time it was Bottas.
Oh yeah, Botas, that poor fellow. That when is he gonna catch a break? I don't understand. I mean, I don't. I'm not a fan of his. I've never been a fan of his, but he just has terrible luck with things. Somehow, whenever Mercedes makes a mistake, it's always with regards to Bottas. And the same thing happened this time. He had a horrible pit stop. I think one of the tires was stuck, it wasn't coming
Poor
off, and
chap, poor chap. Not
yeah,
that he
and
was
yeah,
doing
his
any
race
good
was
in the
pretty much
race.
ruined.
Not that he was doing any good in the race either. But I just feel sad for him because he's the one who takes it all whenever things go wrong.
Yeah, that's right. It cannot be good for his mental state.
I mean,
Yes.
in the post race, when asked how was the day today, his Mercedes had won. So I mean, obviously he should have been happy. But he was like, "Well, it was an okayish day. We could have done better. We didn't have the right strategies for me."
And to think of it, he came in third. It's not like he came in 14th or something. He came in third, and he looked as if he was dead last on the
No,
track.
he missed out on his chance, right? Like since the past 2 years, he's had this event-winning strategy for the championship where he wins the first race and then he doesn't. But this time, he's not won the
Yep.
first race, so he doesn't know what's going to happen with him through the season.
I think that's the ultimate mind game that he's trying to play with Hamilton. So let's see what happens this year. And I think at that point, Alonso had some issues. I think he had some debris stuck in his rear brake ducts or something like that,
Yeah.
and that was causing some heating issues for brakes. And yeah, he pretty much had
Did
to
they come
retire.
out with a statement on what actually was wrong? Because I never know what happened with him.
Yep, yep. They tweeted it out, talking about this, that they had some debris stuff.
Where did he pick it up though?
I don't know. I think there were a couple of incidents that happened, right? I think with Gasly and stuff. So there was like pieces of carbon fiber lying around here and there. And I think we had talked about this earlier sometime. These pieces are pretty much like sharpener,
Yeah.
and it cuts through anything. And yeah, so once it's like lodged inside, it's not something that you could just pit and some mechanic just puts his hand in and pulls it out. It's like really stuck there. So yeah.
And then there were events happening with the other veteran too, right? Like Vettel ended up hitting Ocon on the rear and pulling off a classic Vettel. So, I mean, nothing out of the ordinary.
Spinella.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Uh, but yeah, Vettel, the other legend, also doing something similar, giving
Yeah,
us.
it pains me every time when Vettel does a spin. I mean, he's a great driver, but I think the past 2 years, especially at Ferrari, has somehow broken his confidence entirely. That's what it feels to me. He doesn't seem like the old Vettel we knew back in Red Bull anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he gets converted to something similar like Raikkonen, and then all we sort
Mhm.
of want is him to not leave the sport. It's just fun seeing him on the track. And then he can do whatever he
Yeah.
wants, keep spinning every race so that we're waiting. Oh, actually, we can gamble. Which lap do you think he's going to spin and put money on it,
Yeah, there it is. Forget Wall Street
man?
bets. This is the new Wall Street bets.
Right? You can give him his own ticker, and yeah, this sounds like a real business. Um, but yeah, I mean, besides this fun, uh, we're towards the end of the race. Last 10 laps, I would probably say was the most exciting in terms of what was happening in the front
Mhm.
of the pack. Yeah, I want to call it. I don't want to overshadow whatever happened throughout the race, but this sort of was the main event, nail biter to the
Certainly.
end. Um,
Yeah. When was the last time you remember that the second position finished within one
I
second
don't.
of
To
the
be
winner
honest,
of the
I don't.
race?
And it's always been whoever. I mean, not always Hamilton. There have been other winners, but like whoever's it's been, it's sort of just been a bullet ahead, um, and a
Yep.
clear winner.
Yeah, that's right. And that this was, without any shenanigans happening towards the end of the race. It wasn't like, there was some safety car that came out just
Yeah.
towards the end, which, kind of compressed the pack. This was just on pure pace that Hamilton and Verstappen were going at
Yeah.
it.
The only
And
drama factor
this
in this point was FIA, right, Sarang?
Oh man, don't get me started about that. Or you know what? I feel this is just the right time to talk about the
Please
incident.
do.
Yeah, I think yeah, this is my time to rant. So yeah, sorry guys, you're in for it. uh, so yeah, I think basically Hamilton and Verstappen were going at it, and Verstappen was really gaining onto Hamilton, and he reached into the DRS range, and he basically had that slight advantage in terms of having his DRS open, and having that 20 miles per hour advantage over Hamilton. And he was able to get close to him and almost overtook
Hmm.
him at turn 4.
Hmm.
And but while trying to do that, he went off the track, and right after that he got a radio message saying that you have to yield the position back to Hamilton, because you went off the track and you cannot gain an advantage by going off the track. So yeah, you have to yield.
To me, that was all the more frustrating because I don't want to see Hamilton on the podium. Let's just put it out there. I mean, he's sure a nice driver, blah blah blah, but he's a sore loser, as many of the drivers have said it on the track as well. Anytime he sort of put up a fight. So yeah, I was just happy Max was winning and to see that fight.
Oh yeah.
But as soon as that radio message came in, I was like, this is just favoritism at its best playing along. because Hamilton's done this throughout the race, and as soon as Max getting an advantage, i- in terms of a position, yes, but doing it, what was it, like 29, 30 times throughout the race, that also adds to
Mhm.
advantage.
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, in a sport like F1, where like every millisecond counts, doing something that gains you even like, hundredth of a second 29 times gains you a lot of time. So yeah, I mean, I feel the blame majorly lies solely on
Agree,
FIA for this,
agree.
because they keep these weird rules and these weird ambiguity, which leaves the door open for such things to happen. Like, let me tell you, like in detail, what the exact rule was and what the issue
Hmm.
was. So basically, Michael Massey, who's the race director, during the during the driver's debrief that happens before the race, he informed the drivers that turn 4 will not be monitored like track limits, and you would not be penalized as long as you don't gain an advantage by going
Right.
off the track. But here lies the issue, that when you say something like gain an advantage, this is a very subjective terminology. You have to put very definitive rules here, and very definitively say what does gaining an advantage
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
means. Because what is gaining an advantage? Is it overtaking while you're outside the track? Is it just going outside the track lap after lap to gain that slight hundredth of a second, which adds up and eventually, like, adds up in the whole race?
yeah. And I mean, not to belittle the teams, but these folks are literally looking for every millisecond of opportunity that they can get, sort of bend those rules and exploit the wordings. And you're bang on. I mean, when you say an even more ambiguous statement, what did you expect? Obviously the teams are going to go ahead and see how can they capitalize on exploiting it, right?
Mhm. And yeah, I mean, these teams are multi-million dollar businesses at the end of the day.
Exactly.
They are going to try and find every single loophole that they can find. It is the responsibility of
Hmm.
FIA to ensure that these loopholes don't exist in the first place. And the most weird thing about it was that, okay, it's fine, they decided on this rule. But mid race, if you notice, Hamilton got this radio message saying that, hey, you have been going outside the track for a couple of laps now, and we are instructed to tell you that you can't do it anymore, otherwise you would get the black and white flag, and if you continue to do it, you'll get a penalty right after
Yeah,
that. And that basically, I think, was a result of Red Bull complaining to the
yeah.
stewards, because they noticed that Hamilton was consistently going off the track. And yeah, I mean, you're changing rules while the race is going on. That just doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Christian Horner, who's the team principal for Red Bull, goes off just to chew on FIA's ears, to make a point. Because hey, this was Max's win. If the ambiguity wasn't there to begin with, um, I certainly feel Max could have wrapped up at P1. But this is the
Hmm.
first race of the season. I don't think they're gonna go too much at it, but nonetheless, knowing
Hmm.
Christian Horner the way he is in terms of being aggressive on the management side, I think he's gonna go back and chew on FIA's ears.
There's this particular term that I've seen a lot of people refer Christian Horner as, which is a shit stirrer, and that's exactly what he is. He is always there to, like, you know add that drama into things and make sure that he's an agent of
Yeah,
chaos.
yeah. And
So.
if a topic for a different episode, but Drive to Survive, right? Netflix's Formula 1 show. They've shown Christian in a similar fashion, where they've time and again shown in episodes where you see him being that aggressive, and more than aggressive, I see it as a good leader slash manager for your
Mhm.
team, because he tries to find every opportunity to put his team on the top one way or another.
Yep, yep, that's right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's he's always portrayed that way, and from all the interviews that I've seen and everything, that's my impression as well, that he is, a great leader in that sense, because he's not afraid of putting his thoughts out there at all. Coming back to our topic at hand, so yeah, I feel that this in a way kind of ruined the race a little for me. Even though, I mean, I'm not complaining about the race, it was spectacular, it had everything that I wanted. But you know in a sport like F1, where the slightest
Yeah,
moment that you have can change every single thing in the race. These external factors, when they interfere with the racing, somehow sucks the joy out of it for me, and it it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And I don't know, I don't understand what is FIA trying to achieve by keeping these ambiguous rules. For me, honestly, it feels like they on purpose leave this ambiguity so that they can bend the rule to the narrative that they want to push.
hashtag cash
And
is king.
uh, that's right, exactly, yeah. So
No, for me
yeah,
it was one of
that was exactly what I wanted to get at. So yeah.
no, for me, it was also one of those memes, right? Like the table flipping memes. And as soon as the checkered flag was out there, I was like, why? I mean, I was so close to having a perfect Sunday race day. Hamilton crosses the line, FIA backing him. I mean, not literally backing him, but like with the discussions we are having, right? Like sort of backing him. um, well, at the end of the day, the Red Bull, at least Max was happy with the race. So, and it's the first race of the season. I mean, we'll see how it unfolds. All we know for sure that the battle between Red Bull and Mercedes is gonna go on throughout the season, and we're gonna continue seeing that fight for position.
One more thing that I noticed was when Hamilton won the race, and they showed Toto Wolff, who's basically the
Uh
team
huh.
principal for Mercedes. When they showed Toto Wolff and the joy that was on his face, every single time till now when I have seen Toto after the race, he has. I mean, he's not excited or
Yeah.
anything. Like it's become a common thing for them to
Yeah.
win, and most of the times they're winning, by 20 seconds or
Yeah.
something like that. And for today, it felt like Mercedes did earn the
Yeah.
win, in the sense that they themselves did not expect to win this race. To be honest, they knew that Red Bull is a faster car on track, and it really felt like, yeah, he felt like he earned it. So yeah, it was overall it was a great race. Just that FIA were party poopers and ruined it a little, but overall it was a great race, and I think everybody enjoyed it, including Hamilton, because if you saw Hamilton in the post-race
Yeah.
interview, he was so happy. I mean, he obviously he won the race, so he is happy. But I think after a long time, he had to really fight
Yeah.
for it. He had to given everything that he had. I think something similar to what he had to do in Turkey last year,
Yeah.
where had to be at his 100% throughout the
Yeah,
race.
there was that radio message from him as well, right? Like, leave it up to me. And I mean, he delivered. So,
Uh-huh. Shortly after that, actually, I heard a radio message on Verstappen's radio, where they told him that, if you need anything, let us know. Otherwise, you're on your own. Like, we're not going to disturb you anymore.
anywho, overall, I think we're saying it's an amazing race. I mean, definitely, it is all I hope from for race one of a brand new season with legends and amazing races and
Mhm.
amazing teams in the race. Um, Good battle on the top.
Yep.
Although again, I don't know if I can say it enough, but I would have hoped to see a different podium result. Uh,
Ham were bought. A tale as old as time.
Anywho, but yeah, besides the FIA thing, I think it was an amazing weekend. Who stood out as the driver of the day for you, Sarang?
Um, for me, uh, for me, I think it would be Verstappen. Uh, I was a little confused between Hamilton and Verstappen,
Hmm.
but I think at the end of the day, I am a bigger fan of Verstappen than Hamilton, so I'm gonna give it to him. Uh, so yeah, so Verstappen, I think he did everything right that he could do.
Hmm.
Honestly
Yeah.
speaking, he a lot of people did kind of criticize him for doing that move on the outside on turn 4,
Mhm.
but I don't blame
No, no,
him.
no. Yeah, I agree.
As Senna had said, if you remember, that if you don't go for that gap, you're not a race driver anymore.
In fact, I feel like that was a perfect thing to do. I mean, kudos to him for even doing it, in the sense like he's up against a seven-time world champion, way more experienced
Mhm.
driver. He's way younger than him, and the way he's pushing another legend is just so amazing to see.
Oh yeah, and for sure, like he was as well 100% in the race. He was pushing as hard as he could, and he's
Yeah.
matured so much. And yeah, I've I have no words. Like when I started watching F1, and when Verstappen came in, and there was this buzz all around when he had came in, when he had come into F1, and at that point I was not super impressed. But over the years, I've seen him mature. I've seen him, you know, become a little less hot-headed, but at the same time maintaining the aggression that's required. And yeah, I think he probably really deserved the win. I wouldn't say that Hamilton doesn't deserve the win or anything, but if the weird turn 4 things didn't happen, I think that would have probably Verstappen would have come out better at the end of the race.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Akash? Who would be your driver of the day for today?
Driver number two has always had this curse of Red Bull, where it's since what 1 2 years, it's just been sad to see what's been happening with driver two, and it's all been Max at that team. But then to see Perez, a kudos to him, because coming into this team knew the way he came almost at the edge of the seat towards the end of the year, not knowing if he's going to be there, not having the car that he would have hoped, and to that matter, not knowing if he's even going to race in his first race, right, with the formation lap issues. And then he comes in, starts from pit lane, finishes what, all the way at P5, I think. Yeah, P5. Just a
Hmm.
splendid drive from him. I'm definitely sure Christian's going to be happy to see both the drivers now battling hard, where I can now probably hope Perez is going to give that tough fight on the top along with Verstappen.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, great job by Perez. I mean, starting 20th basically from pit lane and then coming in fifth is commendable. I mean, and that basically he won the driver of the day even in the race
Yeah.
as well, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that did bias my decision, but then kudos to him. Kudos to him.
Right. One special shout out that I wanted to give was for Lando, because
Yes.
he did an excellent job today. I mean, he drove a very good race and came in fourth, right? I think, yeah. And yeah, he got the edge over Ricardo at the start of the race, and he maintained that throughout the race. He I didn't see him much except for the fight that he had with Charles. I didn't see him much on the track, but I think sometimes that is good as well, because just keeping your head down, putting in consistent laps, that gains you results. So yeah,
In
kudos
which
to him.
case, what was the team for the day for you?
So I think the team of the day for me probably is Red Bull. Yeah, I mean they executed everything perfectly. They had amazing pit stops. They have an amazing pit crew, and yeah, they delivered. And strategy wise, they did everything right.
Hmm.
Not many issues with the car except for the one that Perez had. And overall, I think Red Bull got both their teams. I mean, both their drivers finishing in good positions. P2 for Verstappen and P5 for Perez. So yeah, they gained quite a bit of points. And yeah, I think Red Bull really shined in this race for me.
Yeah,
What about you,
for
Akash?
me, Alpha Tauri, Red Bull's B team. We didn't see the results that we would have hoped, but for me, I think the way
Hmm.
they shone was, the good tuning between the team and their drivers, the good complement that there was happening between the two, to the fact that before Gasly was out, he was contending for points in the top five of the table. We saw
Hmm.
Yuki deliver on the car space, getting points in his first race at F1. So overall, I can see some good chemistry between the drivers and the team. Um,
Hmm.
Not the result that we would have hoped for, but I still think the team's done so good to be the team for the day for me. Um, going on the fun side, also let's talk about a loser for the day, right? Let me start here. For me, it was Nikita Mazepin. It was in a fun way though, because although I had hoped to see Grosjean number two in him, but I don't. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see that during the season, which is just begin. So for me, he came in as someone who wanted to prove something and was gonna be aggressive on the track. Let's do this, trying to push the car's limit. Spun out multiple times in qualifying. Let's do this during race and spun out again. I was like, yes, you are the man. So I had fun with him.
Yeah.
For me, he's the loser of the day. Sarang, let's hear yours.
Okay. I think for me, is
Good
Botas.
choice.
Primarily because I mean he came in third, but
Still a good
he came
choice.
in third. Yeah, he came in third in the Mercedes, and he came in third with 37 seconds away from the first two. I mean, come on, man. What Botas, I thought that first race was when you win, and this is not how you win. It's just terrible performance. He was nowhere near Hamilton throughout the race. He never even got into a battle with Verstappen. It's just shameful at this point. It's good for Mercedes that they have a really good car, but otherwise, that seat would not be filled by Bottas at this point of time for sure. If they didn't have, probably not the best car now, but the best car that they have had till now. So yeah, Bottas was
I
the loser of the day for me.
I feel like he's thinking he's the leader of Formula 1.5, and that's where 1.5 begins.
Yeah, I think so. So basically, we have Hamilton and Verstappen
Huh.
in Formula One,
And then
and then
rest of the world. And towards the end, we have Nikita Mazepin.
oh man, yeah, this is going to be a fun season. So I have a
No
feeling.
doubt, no doubt. Um, well, folks, overall, what a weekend it has been. Besides all the rants and all the cribbing that we've done, it was just a great weekend to see Formula One back on track and with a bang. This
Mhm.
was an excellent banger. Besides, again, FIA playing party poopers, but nonetheless, this was an excellent weekend. Let's stick with that. We've been your hosts. So this was fan fiction. Until next episode, until the next race weekend, or unless we have a surprise episode between the races. You can stream us on your favorite streaming apps or wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to check us out and on our website at f1fanfiction.com. We are live. Drop us a message. If you don't have a favorite streaming platform, come listen to us on our website. We've got blog posts and exciting other stuff for you. So see you there. And until next episode, signing off.
Bye bye.